This meeting of the Starkville Board of Alderman will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Alderman Vaughn would like to open in a word of prayer, and we will observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our God and our Father and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, by the way of the Holy Spirit. Father God, again, we should thank you so much. We thank you for your only begotten beloved Son that was born of a Virgin Mary. We thank you for the angels that watched over us all day long today and allowed us to come back to this appointed place to handle the affairs of these cities. But Father God, we just thank you so much for what you have allowed us to achieve during this term. Now we coming down to our last 8 meetings, Father God. We ask you that you would just continue to direct us and continue to bless us, Father God. We make good, wise, sound decisions, Father God, even though we're coming to the close of this term. But Father God, we just thank you for all the things that you achieved, you allowed us to achieve, and the things that you allowed us to achieve. And we just thank you so much for being almighty, all wise, all knowing, powerful, seeing, hearing, understanding God. A God that said you'll never leave us, nor would you forsake us. Father, we pray now for all the leaders of this world. We pray for all world leaders, civic leaders, Christian leaders, city, state, and county leaders. Father God, that we all will look to you for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding how to lead and guide your peoples. Father God, not us to lean on and depend on our own understanding. But God, because without you, we can't do nothing. Without you, we ain't nothing. But we ask you now that you will fill this place with your Holy Spirit. Move on the mayor's heart and this board all in the heart. That, Father God, that we will make the good decision. And these decisions that we make will glorify you, our Father which is in heaven, and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Father, we thank you so much for the privilege that you have given us to serve on this board. But we just praise you, we honor you, we glorify you, we magnify you because of who you are and what you are. Father, it's in Jesus' name that we do pray. Amen.
Amen. You have before you a copy of the written agenda. Before opening it for potential changes to the board, I have a few changes that I'd like to make myself. The first is I'll be delivering a proclamation tonight that was originally listed under mayor's business. The recipient of the proclamation needs to leave well, as close to 6 as possible. So without objection, I'm going to move that under mayor's comments. Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. I propose revising the agenda to remove what was previously listed or what is currently listed under mayor's business as item A. That's the consideration of naming Weathers Construction as a purchasing agent for the city. Is there any objection to removing that item from the agenda? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that item's been removed from the agenda. And finally, Mr. Peters has a presentation set for later in the meeting. He has someone who has traveled a distance from out of town to make this presentation, and out of respect for the presenter's time, has asked that we move that earlier in the agenda. I propose revising the agenda to move that item. It is item 11H2 to item A under mayor's business. Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Now, are there any proposed revisions from the members of the board? Alderman Maynard.
Under 11B2 planning, I'd like to move item A, B, A and B under mayor's business, B and C.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to move items 11B to A and B to items B and C under mayor's business.
Yes, sir.
That is a discussion and consideration of CU 1702 and the discussion and consideration of a certificate of appropriateness for a fence replacement at 111 Nash Street. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none. Give me just a second to make the change on my agenda and note the change on yours as well. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revisions?
No, sir.
Any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Are there any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda as revised?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Nguyen to approve the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The first matter that you have before you is the consideration of the minutes of the February 7th, 2017 meeting.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the minutes of the February 7th, 2017 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes recommended by the city attorney, otherwise as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. We'll now move to announcements and comments by the mayor and members of the board. And for my first comment, I'm going to ask Mr. Mark Copeland to come forward and Alderman Maynard to join me in the well. And Mr. Clements, while he is coming forward, could you go ahead and set the video, and we'll run the video after we deliver the proclamation. And Mr. Copeland, if you'll face the audience with me, Alderman Maynard. Most of you are probably aware that Mr. Koblenz is currently enjoying a run on national television where he is displaying his skills as a budding chef. And when our sons and daughters in this community go off and do well, we believe in honoring them. So tonight, I am going to read a proclamation that I and Alderman Maynard, who is his alderman, have penned for this occasion, and then we're going to watch a video to see a little bit of Mr. Koblenz's work. This is a proclamation of the city of Starkville, Mississippi, recognizing Mark Koblenz. Whereas Mark Koblenz is the 14-year-old son of Robbie and Bonnie Koblenz of Starkville, and he is a native of Starkville, an 8th grade student at Armstrong Middle School. Mark has an older brother, David, who is 15. Whereas Mark has 2 national television credentials in his budding cooking career. In the fall of 2015, Mark was a finalist on Chopped Junior on the Food Network. He was on the first show Food Network filmed of the junior version of this popular show. He spent a week in New York City working on that show. Whereas in December 2015, he auditioned for MasterChef Junior on Fox. He was selected in early 2016 for season 5 and spent 6 weeks in Los Angeles for the filming. During this time, he spent 11-hour days working, filming, and in school. The show is currently airing after a February 9 premiere. Whereas Mark is the first and at this point only kids chef to appear on both shows. He traces his love for cooking back to frequent dinners cooked at home and making cookies and homemade rolls with his grandmother. Once inspired by a dish or recipe, he likes to make it his own, changing the ingredients and shaping it with his own flavor. Whereas, when Mark is not cooking, he likes to hunt, play rec basketball, read, and hang out with friends. He is a center on his middle school football team and runs and works out all year to stay in shape. He is a member of Pine Lake Church, where he participates in the youth group. Now, therefore, we, Parker Wiseman, Mayor of the City of Starkville, and Scott Maynard, Alderman of Ward 5, do hereby acknowledge the achievements of Mark Koblenz on becoming a nationally known, outstanding youth chef while pursuing his love of cooking. We proclaim March 7th, 2017 to be recognized as Mark Koblentz Day in the city of Starkville as we celebrate his dedication and hard work.
Is the country's capital for the best cuisine.
My name is Mark. I was born and raised in Starkville, Mississippi. Yes, I'm from the South. I say y'all, I say ma'am, I say sir. I've been taught to love family, hunting, and football, but I also really enjoy cooking and baking. So I know that if I'm one of the top 40, I can be the top one.
Welcome to the most famous kitchen anywhere in the world.
Your challenge to win an apron centers around the most eaten protein in the entire world, the iconic challenge. Your 40 minutes starts now.
Hi Mark, how's it going?
Doing good, Chef.
Young man, tell me about the pork chop. What's the logic behind this?
It's the ambrosia and nectar of the South, honey
Okay.
and molasses.
So you marinate it first,
Yes, Chef.
and how do you get your hands on that apple tart?
I'm gonna cook how I cook.
Young man, you've got 22 minutes to nail it. Good luck.
Only the good stuff.
Guys, we're down to the last 2 minutes.
Time goes fast here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Hands in the air. Okay.
Hi, Mark. Looks like you've grilled your pork chop.
Yes, ma'am, I got the diamond grill mark. These are 15-minute biscuits and molasses butter. That's what we use on biscuits in the South.
Now, are you confident in cooking this pork chop?
It was maybe a tad more than one like, but it's still hovering around the 155 range.
Okay. Mark. This is delicious dish.
I was scared for a second.
Cook on the pork is great, and my favorite part about you is not only did you cook tonight, you also baked.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All four of you should be proud about the pork chop that you put together tonight. These 2 aprons and a place in the competition belong to
Everyone did awesome. I think it was really hard for the judges to decide.
They were some really, really tough competitors, definitely.
Congratulations, Mr. Koblentz. We are very proud of you. And you should feel free to go and fulfill your reading assignment just as soon as we're ready. I have one comment that is unscheduled this evening, and it is a sad note. The community and the city family lost somebody that meant a great deal to us over the years last week. Mr. Larry Bell passed away. Mr. Bell, at 32 years, was one of the longest tenured city employees in the history of our city. And he was a building official who was respected not only throughout the city, but also throughout the state of Mississippi and nationally in that field. He brought much respect in the building inspection field to us as a city because he was quite credible and quite well known. During that time period, many of the buildings which currently comprise our city were built. So when you go into buildings that are safe and habitable in this community, it's thanks in no small part to Mr. Bell. So we remember him and we extend our condolences to the family. Finally, I'd like to introduce our newest employee, Miss Latice Fisher. And Miss Fisher is our new radio operator records clerk. Latice Fisher is originally from Chicago, Illinois. She is a graduate of Davenport University, where she received her bachelor's degree in legal studies. Before joining the city of Starkville, Latice worked in the law office of John C. Creasink as a legal secretary. Having background experience as a paralegal, Latice has been afforded the ability to exercise a high degree of good judgment, independence in evaluating situations, and making split-second decisions, which makes her a great addition to the Starkville Police Department as a radio operator and records clerk. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Fisher. That concludes my comments this evening. Are there any comments by the members of the board? Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. First of all, to the mayor, colleagues, and all others who are assembled here this evening, I would like to take the privileged moment and opportunity to concur with the comments that the mayor expressed so eloquently with regard to the late Larry Bell. And I just add a couple of sentences. I did have the pleasure and opportunity to work with Mr. Bell from my beginning as alderman on about the 6th day of July 1993, and I think he was last with us probably, in December of 2003. So we had about 10 and a half years together, and certainly, Mayor, I went by the visitation on Sunday evening. So I just wanted to join in with you, and I didn't want to be remiss in not mentioning that, and with him and I having served during that period of time. The last and final thing I want to mention, Mayor, this probably will be my next to last time of being recognized for the evening, but I continue to get inquiries about our landfill, and a number of constituents and others are expressing the fact that spring is approaching and our landfill is still closed, and the governing body, I'm sure, is very mindful of the need to get it open as expeditiously as possible. But I just want to speak on behalf of those who have raised concerns about it, and the time is about to change. So it is very urgent necessity that we get this landfill open as quickly as possible. One thing from a physical responsibility point that I like to make, and this is where I'm going to speak at the very end of the agenda tonight. I noticed I'm going to go ahead and just lay the predicate now, and I'll get recognized one more time during this meeting tonight. And in fulfilling my duties and responsibilities as an alderman, I want to say that, and my other colleagues, they do a good job, but I want to express my physical responsibility about the matter of getting this landfill open. And as a prelude to getting to that matter tonight, I noticed on the agenda tonight that we have at the very end of the agenda, in case some of you are gone, I want to get this point out right now. There's a request to get 4 new trucks for our landscape division of the Sanitation Environmental Services for a sum of at least $104,000. And I stand to be corrected at any point on this, and I understand right now that we have at least 6 employees in the landscape division or is assigned to that division, and there are 2 who are being asked to be hired tonight. And if the board were to do that, we'll have 8 persons. And right now we have at least 4 vehicles that are being utilized, to my knowledge and understanding, by the Division of Landscape. And 2 of those 4 vehicles are the big cab trucks where you can put at least 3 or 4 persons in there. And come this spring, to my understanding, of those 6 persons, excluding any the board may hire tonight, 2 of them, to my understanding, will be assigned to tractors. So, I'm just from the old school. I don't think everybody here needs a truck or to ride around in. And we have some real great needs in our city. And it gets down to a matter of prioritizing. We're going to spend, if the matter of consideration before this board tonight is to spend $104,000 on 4 trucks, and we got a landfill closed, and the hard-working taxpayers and citizens of this great city of Starkville, Mississippi, and this fine Magnolia State is having to drive all the way out to Clay County to take their debris, furniture, and other items to the landfill. So yet, it's a matter of prioritizing and handling your budgetary matters in the most proper and correct way, but yet we're going to have a matter before us tonight. We got a landfill that's been closed since on about the 20th day of September of 2016, but we're going to be asked to buy some trucks when, right now we have at least 6 employees and 4 trucks. It seems like, we can at least get 6 people in 4 trucks. So we want to get 4 new trucks. I guess we just want to ride around and stay cool and just have a good time with the taxpayers' money. So, the question to me as a business person, as an attorney and run my own business, would I do this with my own money? I mean, do I treat somebody else's money differently? No, I should not. I should be a guardian of the taxpayer's person. I'm going to continue to talk about this, whether this is being liked or not, but we got to get this landfill open, and this is not a proper way to look at it with looking at buying some trucks. Going to ask this mayor and board, and the board may do it, but I'm going to do my job. This mayor and board are going to be asked to buy 4 trucks to $104,000. And the thing that we often hear, members of the public, is, well, it is budgeted. It is budgeted. The money is there on that line item. Just because the money is budgeted does not mean you have to spend it. We who have our own budgets, just because it is set aside, it does not have to be expended for that purpose. So, with this landfill being closed for almost 6 months now, and some is fastly approaching, something is going wrong somewhere. We need to redirect our priorities in terms of where we can utilize this $104,000, and of course the board has not acted yet, but and put this toward whatever may be the necessities for getting this landfill open. So I think it's just a matter of doing what we need to do and make the right decisions. So I just want to say is that if we have funds to buy trucks when they're not needed, you have these number of trucks already, and then we want to get 4 more, and furthermore, and I stand to be corrected, and we got 2 persons, as I understand it, out there at the landfill on a day-to-day basis, and the landfill is closed. Got 2 people, as I understand it, and I'm standing to be corrected, out there at a closed landfill. I do not ever recall the landfill being closed. This is just ridiculous. I said at the end of last meeting, this is a college town, home of Mississippi State University. We have guests coming here frequently. We're a growing town. We're just expanding. And then we have to tell people that they got to go out to the Clay County to take some debris away. Does that make any sense? That does not make any sense to me as an alderman. Does not make any sense to me as the vice mayor. Does not make any sense to me as a citizen. And does not make any sense to me as a taxpayer. So regardless of what we may hear on this subject matter, I just want to say that this is a very important issue, not only to the vice mayor who is a taxpayer, but also to other residents and citizens here. We're approaching spring. We are fixing to move forward, spring forward. And people are already beginning to work in their yards, and they shouldn't have to travel across the country to take some debris to a landfill. So I just want to urge the board that we need to move as expeditious as we can If we have monies to buy a truck, I certainly would know trucks, or even to consider buying 4 trucks for a landscape division when, you know, you got these double cab, you know, a lot of people can fit into one truck. Everybody do not have to have a truck. And come springtime, some of these employees going to be on a tractor, so they don't need a truck. So the bottom line, Mr. Mayor, in light of the inquiries I have gotten, you know, some you may not have gotten them, but I have gotten a lot of inquiries about this landfill, and I think we owe it to the. As a matter of fact, we owe it to the public and to all our citizens, to the taxpayers, to get this landfill open. This is a mandate. It got to happen. It needs to happen, and it needs to happen rather quickly. And I hope that we will give this as a very top priority, and we don't need to wait until this term is over. We need to move with all deliberate speed in getting this landfill open. It's absolutely no excuse at all for this landfill to be closed in Starkville, Mississippi. I yield the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Any further comments by the members of the board? Any further comments? Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. This time, if there are any citizens wishing to make comments, you may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening, Board. My name is Alvin Turner, Ward 7. I recognize the mayor and board, our Vice Mayor Perkins,
Thank you, Mr.
Alderman Vaughn, Alderman Walker,
Thank you, Alan.
President NACP Taylor, Vice President Turner. Citizens, time will go 1 hour up Saturday night coming, and the citizens do not want to be having problem with the police department. The citizens have brought to my attention the situation on 182 in Jackson Street and the new Family Dollar. What is those yellow poles in the road for? We don't understand that. We don't want to break the law. We don't want to get into with the police department. How is we going to get to the Family Dollar store with those things in the road? That brought to my attention. We would like to also know about the lighting situation on the old Highway 25 and Industrial Park Road. It might be early still, but we had a wooded area and crime still can happen. Also, the update on the situation with the Longview Poorhouse Road, the area where Joey Cardinal got hit. We would like an update on that. What have they done on that situation as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Engineer, will you come forward, Mr. Kemp? Thank you so much, Mr. Kemp. The morning that we woke up to those, I don't know what you would call them, those traffic devices being over there on Jackson Street, I contacted you because I started receiving telephone calls. I think I contacted you before 9, and at that time I received 3 telephone calls. Will you brief the board as well as the members that are present here from our community about those devices?
Sure thing. Thank you, Alderman, and good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Thank you.
Board. Jackson Street in that section is owned and maintained by the Department of Transportation, as is Highway 182. And during the site plan review of the Family Dollar site, the roadway that they had proposed going into the site from Jackson Street or from 389 was too close to the intersection with Highway 182, so the decision at that time was made that roadway would be a right-in, right-out only to prevent left turns either entering or exiting that particular development from that location. So as you can see from the design of the roadway, it has got a triangle in the middle of it, so it allows for almost a right in and a right out coming out. And then the barricades in the middle were a deterrent from cars either turning left into the development or turning left, so left exiting. So for vehicles, for example, that are westbound on 182 or northbound on Jackson south of 182, they're going to have to use the entrance off of 182, which is located just west of the intersection of 182 and Jackson, to enter the site, coming from those two directions.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Are there any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Open the floor.
And Mr. Turner, on those lights on Industrial Road, Mr. Terry Kemp is absent tonight, but he had checked on that and he working on those lights.
Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public appearances. Our first public appearance tonight is by Scott Pridmore, Vice President of Mid-South Sides. Mr. Pridmore, you'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation.
See if I hand out some paperwork. Well, yeah, one each person gets one of these right here.
Thank you, Chief.
Hope I don't run out. Run them real quick. If you,
Chief, how are you?
sorry about this, it's the only way I know to explain it.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
If you have to- Everybody gets one of these. Everybody gets one. Lisa, I took up all my time. I'm sorry.
The clock will start when you.
I'm sorry. Y'all could share one of these. I don't know if anyone knows the history of why I'm here, but we took out a permit on Academy Drive to do a reface, and we were shut down by the city in the middle of it for reasons I'm unaware of. To start from the beginning, if you'll look at the South Jackson, the first sign changeover, we applied for a permit to do a face change, which is allowed by the city of Starkville under the sign ordinance. We could do a face change. And at that location, with a shell package, it's a lot different than a lot of signs. It's safer to put the sign cabinets on the ground, put the faces in the cabinets, and reinstall them. It's safer for our employees, and any sign company that does those type packages knows that that's a much safer, more efficient way to do it. So what we did on Highway 12, the corner of Highway 12 and South Jackson, is we took every sign cabinet down off of that structure. Old cabinets that are there, we didn't alter anything. We put the new faces in there, and we stacked them right back up the way they were. That sign's been up for over 6 months, and everything's been fine. Haven't heard a thing about it. Under the sign ordinance, it doesn't stipulate how you do a face change. It just says you need a permit to do it. So there's several different ways to do face changes. And it doesn't stipulate in any of the ordinance, any regulations or restrictions on how we do that. As long as we don't add any signs, alter the height of the sign, or do an embellishment, like add a roof to it or anything decorative. None of that was done. So 6 months later, Dutch Oil decides they want to do the sign at Academy Drive. If you'll read the email that we wrote to Daniel, my assistant sent him an email, and it says, Daniel will be replacing the faces on the sign at Academy Drive. The sign will look exactly like the one we did on South Jackson. Please let me know if you need anything. Daniel gave us a permit to reface the sign on Academy Drive. So we take out the permit, pay for it, we go down there to do it, and midstream, someone calls and says, we are disassembling the signs. Daniel sends inspector down there and makes a decision that we're doing more than a face change. And he shut us down. So I'm here to ask us to reinstate our permit that we legally got through the sign ordinance so we can finish the job and move forward. If there is any restrictions, if Buddy and Daniel would let us know, we'll be glad to comply. But there is just none at this current point. Nothing to go by. We do this all over the southeast. We know everybody almost has the same ordinance that y'all have. The wording is almost identical. If there's something in their sign ordinance that says, hey, you can do a face change, but don't remove the cabinets. Or, hey, you can do a face change, but you can't alter the retainer. Things like that that should be added to the sign ordinance. And so we're all about going by the sign ordinance. It just was no regulations or restrictions on how we did this, so we did it the best way and the safe way for our employees. So that's all I have.
Mr. Pridmore, were you replacing anything other than the plastic outer face on the sign?
Nothing. It is just, when we walk away from these signs, the only thing that has changed is the facing.
So nothing that would be considered a part of the cabinet?
Nothing.
Was replaced?
Nothing whatsoever. We do this all over, and we were just kind of stunned when we got shut down because we just did the one on South Jackson in front of the whole world on Highway 12. Y'all probably rode by and seen it. We had every sign down on the ground, putting the new faces in and stacking them right back on the sign. So we were kind of confused and just trying to figure out why we got shut down, honestly.
Okay. For tonight, Mr. Pridmore, I'm going to recommend that we take this under advisement, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do from here. I'm going to have a conversation with my staff, and I'm going to ask them if there is any evidence that you were doing anything beyond just replacing the outer plastic casing.
Right.
And if they believe that there is, then we will inform you of what we believe that contention to be.
I mean, we're willing to put it up with inspectors there. We're willing to have everyone come and take a look at it. We're not hiding anything.
Right.
So we did everything within our power we thought to. We'd already done it 6 months prior. And if you'll see in the email that my assistant sent, she wanted to make sure that Daniel knew we were doing the exact same thing as we did on Highway 12 at Academy Drive.
Well, I reviewed the file on this. One thing that has not been clear to me is whether there was any work beyond just replacing the plastic outer facing of the sign that was done.
Right.
You've made your representation tonight on the record.
I think what Daniel was arguing about was we did some electrical work. Right. Well, that's secondary maintenance. Electrical was what we did. I mean, there's not a it's not a permit required for that. That would be like if the ballast went out in that light fixture, and the guy that does that here wanted to replace the ballast, he would have to unhook the power to it. That means he would have to go around and get a permit to do that. If that's what Daniel was arguing about.
Right.
So that's the only thing that Daniel brought to me is we did some electrical work. And I asked Daniel, I said, Daniel, if you'll just let us do this one, we'll get a licensed electrician to go make all the final connections and finish the job in any order that you'd like. Right now, the cabinets are stacked on the customer's parking lot, and it's a hazard, of course. We're trying to hurry up and get something resolved so we can get it up and get it settled. But we'll do anything that y'all ask us to do, but if you'll look at the signed ordinance, it merely says, get a permit to replace the faces. It doesn't say how to do it or what stipulations you have that. It doesn't say anything about electrical, doesn't say anything like that. So we're willing to do whatever. We just want to make it right, get everybody satisfied, make it legal. If we have to get an electrical permit, get a licensed electrician, if y'all like to come out there and watch us, we're willing to let that happen. So just wanted to let everybody know we want to make it right. I mean,
In the coming days, we will either make a determination as to exactly what work you did that exceeded the scope of a face change.
Right.
And we will notify you of that.
Okay.
Or we'll notify you that we agree with your contention.
okay, all right, that'll be fine. All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next public appearance is by Dr. Steve Damaris to present the results from the urban deer study.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Vice Mayor and Board, thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening to present the results of our student-led effort to develop a potential plan for deer management in the city of Starkville. As we reported, there are 4 steps basically in development of a plan. We undertook the first step is to determine the extent of the problem, if there is a problem with the urban deer population in our city. Setting goals and objectives for subsequent deer management plan would be ultimately your decision whether or not what type of goals and objectives you wanted for the subsequent plan. Quantifying the deer population size and geographic range, that could be done at a later date with an actual survey census of the deer population, and selecting the deer management methods based on the objectives and resources available for the municipality. That just as a follows from the first 3 steps. First thing we did, if we could decrease the lights in here a little bit. This is a city land use map which we simplified to create basically potential deer habitat, and then mid to high development and low development, and then of course blue is open water. So anywhere there's green is potential deer habitat, and you can tell within the city there's a lot of potential deer habitat. So if you don't think we have a problem now, we will as we grow into the deer habitat that exists currently. And you'll see as a reference point, there's a small black square on the mid-right side that shows what 5 acres looks like on the map. This map is the citizen-reported depredation of landscape and gardens based on a result survey that we provided in social media and the newspaper. These are citizen reports of complaints where deer were causing problems in their landscaping or their gardens. And you can see most of the reports are down the South Montgomery corridor, but they're also distributed throughout the rest of the city to a lesser extent. This is a very important source of information here. These are actual deer auto collision sites where the city picked up dead deer, and so these are places that citizens actually hit deer, and the bodies of the deer were subsequently picked up. And so these are serious potential for serious injury to our citizens, and certainly physical damage to the vehicles, and obviously the loss of the life the animals. Again, we have a lot of damage, interactions in the South Montgomery area, but also throughout the rest of the city, north, west, east, and south. There are a lot of collisions with deer and vehicles. We sent out this survey, and we had 135 respondents, and some of the questions we asked were you concerned about deer conflict related to landscape and gardening? Over 50% of the respondents said they were concerned. We asked, are you concerned about vehicle collisions? And 70% of the respondents said, yes, we're concerned about vehicle collisions. And then we asked about tick vector disease, and about half the citizens were concerned about that potential problem. So clearly the citizens, based on the 135 respondents, they are concerned about these potential conflicts with the deer population. We asked them, when developing a management plan for these types of problems, were they concerned about the welfare of the deer? And then separately, were they concerned about the welfare of the citizens? And the respondents were equally concerned about the citizen welfare, but also the welfare of the deer themselves, to make sure that they're not abused or inhumanely managed. So it's clear concern about both the deer as well as the human conflict. And then we asked them what they knew about the effectiveness of various options. 80% of the respondents agree that recreational hunting is an effective management alternative. 45% thought that trapping and relocating is an acceptable alternative. And in reality, we can't legally trap and relocate. It would have to be a trap and euthanize, because the state doesn't allow deer to be relocated within the state of Mississippi. So this would have to actually be a trap and euthanize. And then a contraception, 30% thought that this would be an effective mechanism. Based on literature and work done in other cities throughout the United States, to give you an idea, trapping an animal, a deer, runs about $400 per animal to trap, to get your hands on them, and then euthanizing would be an added cost to that. Contraceptions can cost up to $1,500 per animal, depending upon how it's done. And often, in certain approaches to contraception require repeated handling of the animal over multiple years. And some modeling work that's been done showed you have to get at least 50 to 80% of the deer population managed through contraception to have it actually effectively control the deer population. So contraception and trapping and relocating aren't very effective or are very costly. And actually the citizens were pretty well informed about the effectiveness of these options. So we developed kind of a minimum action recommendation, which would be to ban the feeding or attraction of deer, artificial attraction of deer within the city. We don't know how many citizens are artificially feeding deer within their yards or properties. Subsequent to producing this report, one of my students said, oh yeah, my family used to feed deer in the back of our yard. And so it is happening. So we recommend that citizens not be allowed, that some type of regulation be written to forbid that, to fix a problem that may be occurring. And then we learned that current state regulations allow archery hunting on 10 or more acres of land within the city that is deer habitat. And so we believe that archery hunting is currently allowable on 10-acre plots. 50 acres is the minimum area if you're going to use a rifle or a shotgun, and so, or a muzzleloader. So there are currently regulations that are acreage-based for the state, and a minimum approach would be to allow archery hunting to exist on 10-acre properties, areas of habitat, as we believe state law does allow, and whether or not city regulations allow that. We're not sure about that. But this would be a minimum approach. Stop feeding, because that's affecting the distribution of animals, and then allow or promote archery hunting where it's currently allowed in the city. And coincidentally, as just a private citizen a couple of years ago, I was interested in learning about recreationally hunting to help control a friend's deer depredation in their yard, and it's hard to find out, well, is hunting allowed in the city? There's not ready access to that information. So our minimum approach recommendation is to clarify and promote recreational hunting, particularly archery hunting, because it's quiet and it can be done from an elevated stand so that any projectiles are shot into the ground if you miss the deer, or if the arrow goes through the animal, goes into the ground, so there's minimum safety risk. So this was our minimum action recommendation. And then a more aggressive recommendation would be to also, again, ban feeding within the city limits. And then, yes, sir?
You got 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. To pass an ordinance to allow hunting on a 5-acre block, which would allow more specific attack at deer problems. If you look at those green habitats, there's some central habitat within the city that is actually less than 10 acres, or relatively small, that might need to be addressed with a recreational hunting. And you could actually have an archery proficiency test required of hunters, and that ensures that they're going to be humane in their harvest of animals. Again, require elevated stand, and you could require written permission to be on hand by the hunter while they're hunting. And we could actually establish a deer management assistance program as part of the city, create a DMAP program for the city so that the city could pass out permits to hunters, and the DMAP permit would allow hunters to exceed the bag limit and exceed the current regulations for antler restrictions, which require a certain minimum antler size. And the purpose of this type of a recommendation is to reduce or control animal numbers. We're not trying to manage for older bucks. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Demerits. And this is very useful work. I hope it was useful for you and your students as well. I have fond memories as a graduate student in public administration doing work for local cities where I went to graduate school, and I always found it to be very helpful, and I always hoped the cities could use it. We can use this, so thank you for your initiative and your time.
Okay, and I can assist with these further actions if you so choose.
Yep, I think we would. Hold on, I may have some board members with questions. Alderman Little?
Did you assist the city of Oxford whenever they did this something similar?
I'm sorry?
Did you assist the city of Oxford whenever they implemented
No, we
something
did
like
not.
this a few years ago?
We did not. They kind of did things on their own and stubbed some toes early on in how they chose to do it, or thought they were doing it correctly.
But you could help guide us through this process?
Yes, oh yes. Yes, and this is not something unique to Starkville or cities in Mississippi. It's done throughout the United States. And even in city parks, as small as 4 acres, while continuing to have citizens hiking and using the parks, their archery programs have successfully reduced deer populations in these cities' parks concurrent with other uses. They don't have to close the parks. So it can be done safely and effectively using recreational hunters.
Any further questions or comments from the members of the board?
I think Oxford was trying to reduce their black bear population, if I'm not mistaken.
That's good. I want to say thank you for the work that you and your students did, and I do believe that the city is going to continue to grow. I think the conflict potential between deer and people is only going to increase, not only on the South Montgomery corridor, but to the corridors to the north. So I think it's appropriate to begin to think about these things prior to the situation getting worse. As our city continues to urbanize, the conflict potential, reduced habitat is only going to increase. So thinking about putting a plan in place for how we be proactive and deal with that before the situation situation becomes worse, I think is very important. So I appreciate very much this study and to helping guiding the city in terms of how to move forward. So thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you. Seeing none, thank you, Dr. Merrill. The next matter before you is a public hearing on CU 1702, a request for conditional use to allow for an accessory dwelling to be constructed at 405 Gillespie Street. Mr. Sanders, would you like to introduce the matter?
Mayor and Vice Mayor Board of Alderman. Our first public hearing of the night is seat case number CU 17-02. This is a request by Dan and Mary Pat Templeton to allow an accessory dwelling unit to be constructed at 405 Gillespie Street on a parcel that is currently zoned R2 with the property number 102A-00-149. In order to construct an accessory dwelling unit in the R2 zone, a conditional use is required. A home was previously located on the property but is now vacant. The size of the proposed structure is 1 bedroom, 1 bath guest house, plus or minus 727 square feet. The house meets setbacks for the R2 zone. There are 5 criteria for conditional use. The uses are as follows. Land use compatibility. The proposed use as an accessory dwelling in an R2 zone could be considered compatible. Other R2 properties in the area have accessory dwellings. Sufficient size and adequate site specification to accommodate the proposed use. The site is adequately sized to accommodate the proposed use. Proper use of mitigative techniques. There are none proposed or needed. Hazardous waste. No hazardous waste or materials would be generated, used, or stored at site. Compliance with applicable laws and ordinances. The building permits will be required. 23 property owners of record within 300 feet of the subject property were notified directly by mail of their request. Public hearing notices was published in the Starkville Daily News on January the 16th, 2017, and a placard was placed on the property concurrent with the publication of the notice. As of this date, the planning office has received 3 phone calls against, 1 email against, 1 email requesting a condition, 1 email in favor of the request, and 1 person in the office visits against. At the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, a document was submitted by the applicant with 20 signatures from residents in the area in favor of the request. The Planning and Zoning Commission does ask for 1 condition. Any facade facing Gillespie Street should be should have architectural features to show depth and character. One thing I should point out, during the Planning and Zoning Commission, the 2 issues that came up was a chain link fence, which has been removed by the applicant, and the other was concern from people in the neighborhood of essentially the accessory use being used as rental property. The applicant reassured the Planning and Zoning Commission that their intent is to solely have as a guest house.
Questions or comments from the members of the board? Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Sanders from the members of the board? Any questions or comments? Alderman Carver.
Other than the chain link fence and the rental property, were there any other concerns that the neighbors are emailed or called about?
The only concerns that we have received both by phone and by email were the chain link fence and the thought that the accessory unit would be used as a rental property.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to the public comment portion of the public hearing. At this time, anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Is there anyone now wishing to speak? Is there any?
Is this when we speak, sir?
It
As
is.
the owners?
It is.
Good evening. I'm a bit nervous, and so I'm going to read this, but please don't take it as a lack of sincerity. I'm trying to be
Please.
concise.
State your names for the record.
Okay. I'm Mary Pat Templeton, and this is...
I'm Dan Templeton.
We are glad to be here this evening to tell you about our plans for 405 Gillespie Street. But first, let me tell you about us. Dan is a Starkville native. He is the son of Billy and Buck Templeton. Buck worked in the physical plant at MSU for 40-plus years. He also had his own HVAC business and installed the majority of AC units in Starkville during his career. Dan's brother Larry lives in Starkville as well. I'm a Birmingham native with deep North Mississippi roots. I'm the daughter of Mary and L.Q. Patton, the niece of J.C. Patton Sr. of Starkville, and the cousin of J.C. Patton Jr., also of Starkville. Dan and I have brought salvageable materials from my daddy's home place in Yellowbushy County, that's Water Valley, down here to Starkville, and we plan to use them as architectural accents in our building project. That'll bring my heritage down here and join with his. We are MSU grads, lifelong Bulldog fans, all sports. Dan and I love Starkville. We own a Bulldog home on Garden Lane next door to Jeannie Quinn. When we discovered and bought our lot on 405 Gillespie Street, the owner, Clifford Ritchie, told Dan that he decided to sell to us because he wanted the land to go to Starkville people. Our youngest daughter, Mary Alice McLean, lives here with her husband, Colby, and their 2 sons, our grandsons, Ian and Noah. I'm sharing all of this with y'all to let you know we are invested in Starkville. We only want to improve the neighborhood, to raise property values. We have no interest in rentals, none at all. Starkville is it for us. It's about family values, lifelong friends. It is a place where your word is your bond. It is where Dan and I want to retire and enjoy our children and grandchildren at 405 Gillespie Street. To achieve our goal, we sought out the best and hired John Jones from Memphis as our architect for this project. John has already done great work here. He designed the wonderful carriage house on South Washington Street, which is part of the C.E. Gay house property. I'm going to pass the baton to John now, who will discuss our project layout and design if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mister.
That part, does he get another?
He gets a fresh 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and
Thank you.
members of the Alderman Council. I would be happy to answer your questions about this project. Basically, I can just give you the run overall. The program for that house was to utilize the site in total.
Could you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry. I'm John Jones. I'm an architect from Memphis, and I'm the consultant to the Templetons for the design. Just basically, the design concept was to utilize the entire site, the depth of the site. It's a very long, narrow site, as you can see. We wanted to bring vehicular traffic from, on the top right corner there is the curb cut off Gillespie. We can pull a car in off the street and park it pretty quickly so that we wouldn't be driving way around the back of the house, etc. From that, we've divided the lot into what I call layers of space, so that you have the very front is the more public side of the property where the cars, the vehicles are. The center part of the site is where we plan to have a swimming pool and lawn area, and then to the very rear is we would use the rear of the site for the guest house. The house itself is situated on the far western half of the property, so that we can utilize in all the spaces inside the house, look out onto this garden courtyard-like lawn area. So that's basically the concept for the layout of the house. So it's linear. It does not face the street. It faces interior to the site, and by doing this, we're more efficient use of the property, and it's a very private type of an arrangement. So be happy to answer any questions or show you other.
And Mr. Jones,
Information.
we'll have an opportunity for the board to ask any questions they may have at the conclusion of the public comment.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any further public comments? Any further public comments?
My name's Toby Gray. I live on South Montgomery Street, about 2 blocks from Main Street, so I'm a neighbor, or I presume I am. And I just appreciate the Templetons coming out and going into such detail about what they're doing. It kind of puts my mind at ease. I've seen a lot. I've been there 10 years. I've seen a lot of bad things happening. Some cinder block duplexes with concrete stuff in the front of the house and everything. I haven't seen this enough to really say how I really feel about it, but I just appreciate the board being careful about what happens in that neighborhood, because it's a great neighborhood with a lot of fine older homes, and I appreciate your sensitivity to keeping that neighborhood in a sort of historic condition as it is. I don't see anything here that makes me grit my teeth or anything. I just wanted to appreciate the effort that's going into this request for the conditional use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Are there any further public comments? Any further public comments? Any further public comments? Any further public comments? Seeing none, we'll move back to questions and concluding comments from the members of the board. Are there any questions or concluding comments from the members of the board? Any questions or concluding comments from the members of the board? Any concluding comments? Seeing,
Go ahead. We'll do that.
Seeing none, that will conclude the public hearing on CU 1702. The next matter before you is a report on Musco lighting system for all fields and parks. And while Mr. Peters is making his way to the front, you will recall one of our short-term goals that's identified in the Parks Master Plan is to install a control link lighting system. So as Mr. Peters and the vendor that he has represented this evening are making their presentation, this is a big undertaking. No, we moved that to B. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So this is a big undertaking, but due to the lease purchase structure that is potentially available, it's not an impossible undertaking. But I also want you to bear in mind, if we are to stay on course with the first tier of recommendations in the master plan, we should be completing this project sometime this year. Mr. Peters.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Board. Again, we have Mr. Jean with us and Mr. Jason is in the back. As the mayor said, this is part of our comprehensive study. It's basically our control our lighting system. I know many of you have driven by, some of you call early morning, late night about our lights being on. He's going to go into the basic detail of it, but what's going to happen with this, if you call me now, I get a call from a citizen, if we move in this direction, at 2:30 in the morning, all I have to do is look on my phone and go, oh, it's on, and cut it off. That saves us a lot of time and effort. But I'm going to let Dean get into that. He's more into that side of it, how it works. And once we decide and we come back to this, I really want the citizens to get involved in a private business or in individuals who would like to help with this project, because that's what has happened in other cities. Businesses have come forward and helped with big projects like this that impact the entire city, not just the parks.
Mayor, council members, my name is Gene Feinhardt. I represent Musco Lighting. I believe Mr. Peters gave you all a packet, and in that packet is an overlay of all the Control Link product that we're going to talk about briefly tonight. Basically, Control Link was developed and built by Musco Sports Lighting to help our end users, customers, save money on their lighting systems. And they do that by two ways. Number one, they can actually set schedules on when those lights are gonna come on, when they're gonna go off, and then the other side of that, when they're saving that time burning the lights, they're saving the life on the lamps, the ballast, the electrical system. So they're not only saving energy, they're also saving life on the lighting system. What we see in our world is that when the parks open up, the coaches, rec managers, whoever's maintaining the parks, first thing they'll get there at 5 o'clock, we'll put the lights on in the field, so everything's ready when it gets dark. When it comes summertime on the heavy field of play, most of the time it doesn't get dark till 8 or 8:30. So our system allows to set a schedule, and we can set that in increments of 15 minutes. Typically, we'll come on 15 minutes before sunset. And the reason we do that is, on an HID lamp, it takes about 15 minutes to get warmed up to its full brightness. That gives a transition from sunset, so there's no difference in light levels on the field. They can set schedules to run that daily. They can set schedules weekly. They can schedule indefinitely. And we can do that by 3 ways. 1, you can do it via laptop. 2, you can call in Controlling Central, which is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And 3, depending on the different levels of security they have, they can do it via smartphone. So if he had full access to security for that, he could turn those lights on and off via smartphone. If during a game it got rained out, he could simply go shut the lights off. If you were having a tournament and you needed extended field of play, he can extend that field of play. We have 4 levels of security within this controlling system. And typically the park director determines those levels of security. One security is you could just simply call in and set a schedule to turn the lights on and off. Another security, you can do that as well as shutting the lights off if a rain delay. The other security is you can change schedules. And then the top security is you can do all the above. So it's really up to the park director, or if he's the one that's dictating the duties, who gets what level of security. The system works by controlling a contactor. I surveyed the Sportsplex and McKee Fields with Mr. Peters' team yesterday, reviewed all of the electoral rooms, everything that needed to have control link put on it. Some of the fields had contactors in place, which we just install a simple control link retrofit unit. It's about a day process. Some of the fields just had breakers. They didn't have contactors. So contactors will need to be installed in order for the control link system to operate. We can control a contactor, we cannot control a breaker. We control a contactor by relays, and that energizes the contactor to get the lights come on. We can turn on, for instance, on a wagon wheel, we can set a zone for each field. So if there's only one field playing on that wagon wheel, the other 3 fields don't need to be on, just that one particular field. At the end of every month or the end of day, anybody that has access to that website can go in and see how many hours of lights those fields actually burn. Did they come on at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or did they go off at 2 o'clock in the morning? And that schedule, that person that set that schedule, they're going to be identified when they call into Musco and set that schedule. They have to give a username and a password. So if those lights come on at 5 o'clock and they don't go off till 2 o'clock, then he will be able to pull up a report saying, who turned those lights on at 5 o'clock and how come they was on till 2 o'clock? So there's several different reports that we can give you with that. And that's a brief summary is all in this book right here. But that is, that's a basic overview of Control Link. And like I say, it was designed to save energy. It's designed to save lighting, operating costs, maintenance costs. Currently, Jason sold the high school softball and baseball lighting. They currently are getting theirs installed as we speak. Columbus Soccer Complex over in Columbus has it. There's several entities in Mississippi that have it. So there is a lot of places in Mississippi that have really welcomed the Control Link unit. In the back of your packet, There's a lot of project references. Currently, right now, we have over 50,000 units in the United States alone. We're scheduling almost 500,000 calls on our peak months, would be like May through October. Our controlling central taking almost 500,000 calls a month. And that goes from anywhere to changing the schedule, canceling for rain delays, anything they do to save that park money.
Alderman Carp.
May not know the history, but one of the highlights this board has done is to oversee cost savings within the Parks Department. A lot of that was with lighting. I'll be supporting anything to do with this. I think it's a great idea. I know, I was gonna ask you, like, return on investment, you know, just with that initial investment, how long does it take to see those returns? And two, I guess, as long as you utilize it right, this is a great asset. I think, other than maybe the director getting calls every night at 2 o'clock in the morning, have another person or two that you trust to have that level of security. But what is the maintenance cost long-term?
The control link package, retrofit package that we would offer, it comes with a 10-year warranty, both parts and labor. Within that 10 years, it also includes communication fees. Right now, currently, it's a cell phone. We operate this via cell phone. So currently today, that cell phone bill is $425 a year. So at the end of 10 years, we don't know what that cell phone is going to be. I mean, right now, today, it's $425 a year per unit. So if you had 10 units, it'd be $4,250 or whatever. As far as the control savings, every city and county is different. I'll give you a little example of that. Typically, I don't know whether you guys pay demand charges. Every city and county is different, but if you pay demand charges, most demand charges in the city come between like 4 and 6 o'clock p.m. Everybody's coming home from work, turning the air conditioning up, ball field lights are coming on. That's typically the peak of demand charge. So on top of your electric bill, you're also paying a demand charge if the city of Starkville does. I don't know how their Park and Rec department, that's the way most of them are. So that comes into a factor, as well as the maintenance and the longevity of the lighting system. You start saving 200 or 300 hours a year on operation of the lights, your energy goes down, and maintenance on your lighting goes down as well. And to give you an idea on the cost savings, it makes a difference how many hours you're burning that park a year.
Sure. Oftentimes, we've come through there late in the evening. I was going to ask, that was another question, was say an instance that a softball tournament goes past and it cuts off. How many minutes is it before? Is it still a 15-minute time schedule? We've had them cut off before. How long would it take to get those lights back on?
Well, the problem with an HID lamp, it takes about 15 minutes to a half hour to warm back up. So if you know a tournament is going to go past that, then we need to schedule that. Now, the only lamp that's instant on in today's market is LED. Any HID manufacturer, that lamp is a 15-minute to a half-hour warm-up. Where LED, it's instant on.
Thank you.
Alderman Walker.
Thank you very much for coming and giving this talk. I'm with Alderman Carver. I think that this is, I look forward to reading your packet to find a little bit more about the product. But I want to be clear is that what you're proposing in the package you're here is the control link. It is not replacing the actual lighting system itself, right?
No.
And so we have another huge opportunity long-term to change out that lighting to an LED system where we're going to see increased savings in that regard. But we are only talking about the control link system, what is the control of the lights that we currently have, which I believe will also be a huge benefit and would be, it would give control. It gives control to the Parks Department as opposed to anybody else right now who would have access to just go flip the light switch on, which has been an issue in the past. Question, you said that some of our controllers would be ready to go. Were those all in the Sportsplex?
No. Actually, if you out, I've got two separate packets of quotes. The first one dated, named Obies Field Soccer. That's at Sportsplex. And I broke down each electrical location so you'll know what needs contactors and what don't. It's identified on that quote.
Thank you.
And then I identified on the quote the amount and the size of contactors that you need. And how I determined that is I matched that from the breaker panel, the existing breaker panel.
Thank you very much. I look forward to getting more into your packet and seeing if this is a direction that...
And regarding your question regarding payback, the only study that was ever done in the city of Jacksonville, Florida, did this on their own. they've got over 200 fields under Musco Control Link. And they did their energy savings, and they paid for it in about 6.5 years. So that's the only case study that we didn't do that. They sent that to us. So we've never did a personal case study.
Thank you.
And then also I want to note before I leave you, identified on these quotes, the city of Jacksonville is a member of the National Joint Powers Alliance, and I've identified your number at the bottom of that quote. The Control Link retrofit is identified in that state contract for approved pricing. What is not identified in that contract is contactors, the equipment needed to mount the equipment, like unistrut, to mount the rec tube to the wall, any conduit that needs to be run from the breaker panel, that stuff's obviously not identified, or the labor. So I had an electrical contractor survey this, surveyed my notes. He's a local Mississippi contractor, and he's the one that gave me the estimates or the labor installation number.
Further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The next matter before you is the discussion and consideration of CU 1702. Was that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of CU 1702, a conditional use request to allow for an accessory dwelling unit to be constructed at 405 Gillespie Street on a parcel that is currently zoned R2 with the property number 102A-00-149.00 with the condition that a facade facing Gillespie Street should be articulated with features to show depth and character as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Walker.
I just want to say thank you very much for coming back to Starkville. We appreciate you being here, and I think this is a lot that I've been looking at for a number of years since that house got torn down, and I'm excited that we're going to do quality infill development in this neighborhood. I believe that the interior core of the traditional neighborhoods that we have in Starkville are very valuable, not just from an economic standpoint, but they're valuable cultural history for the longevity of Starkville. So I want to say thank you for coming back, and thank you for doing sensitive infill development. We very much look forward to welcome you back to Bulldog Country.
Alderman Nguyen.
To the Templetons, welcome home to Bulldog Country. I yield the floor.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of a certificate of appropriateness.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of a certificate of appropriateness for fence replacement and entry steps located at 111 Ash Street as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval to purchase a half-page ad in the amount of, motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the purchase of a half-page ad in the amount of $25 for the Bill Moore 6th Biennial School Reunion Celebration Souvenir Booklet scheduled for September 8th through 10th, 2017 as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion? Yes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits? No. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is an update on the police renovation.
Greetings, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. It's my pleasure to give you the monthly update of the renovations of the Starkville Police Department. Of course, we know that an SPD representative, which is Corporal Lovelady, meets with them or goes down to the building every day. I try to get down there about once a week. I was last down there on last Friday. Weather's construction reports, they're on schedule. We have to report that since August 23rd, 2016, we're about 72% done. So it's beginning to look like a police department. Okay, the progress since our last update. On the first floor, we got electrical rough ends in progress, plumbing rough ends in progress, HVAC ductwork installed in progress, fire protection installed on the way, masonry work on elevator and chairlift shaft and interior walls, gypsum board on side of first floor walls, and I just learned what gypsum board is, so I just asked Gary, and he told me it's that stuff right there. So, installation of the stairway. Go ahead and flip to the picture. All right, that's the east wing facing the dispatch. So if you walk into the door and you look to the right, that's what you'll be looking at. The dispatch is to the right there, and you can look straight down. No, that's not right, is it?
You're standing in the back of dispatch, if you're inside dispatch.
Yeah, if you go down the hall, take a right and look back this way, that's what you're looking at, the back of dispatch. So which used to be the city clerk's office. All right, that's looking straight down the hall from the front doors. And you're looking into what we're gonna be called the briefing room, which is the stage area. And with the stage area, of course, if you're looking straight down the hall, if you're looking north, you can see the whole stage area. It'll be all glass, and you'll be able to see up to the second floor of the investigative offices. All right, those are the stairs on the northwest side of the building. Basically, those stairs is where the back door used to be at. If you come in the old back door from the west side of the building, those stairs are in that vicinity right there. That's the back door. It used to be the court clerk's office, but now that's the entrance to the booking and where the booking and the holding cells are, which is to the left right there. All right, that's the briefing room and the stage. From the stage right there, so you can see up to the second floor where investigations will be at. So, coming along very well. That's going to be the east side of the building, which is where the entrance of the old mayor's office used to be at. Second floor, that's actually where the assistant chief's office is in that vicinity right there. If you're looking out of that office and where the secretary would be, that's what you're probably going to see. And of course, that brick fixture there is the elevator. Second floor, northeast corner. Rear men's restroom and shower. That's going to be down on the first floor, all the way to the back where we're planning to put a workout facility there. That's it. So we have, of course, you have a handout here. If you want to ask me any questions about the current renovation, I'll be happy to try to answer them here. And of course, as you can see, Mr. Schaefer is here as well.
Questions or comments for the members of the board? Alderman Nguyen.
My question is this. So, is it true to say that we are on schedule to be completed with this police renovation by May of this year?
May 20th of this year.
May 20th. I just want that on the record. May 20th. Thank you so much.
As of today.
As of today.
Any
Thank you,
further
Chief.
questions or comments by the members of the board? Alderman
I'd
Walker.
just like to say again, I think that I believe this is as good as this building has looked in probably 50 or 60 years. It is really, I think, going to give it new life and bring it back to how it was originally designed on the interior. I think that area around the stage is really going to be fantastic. So I think it's always wise for us to invest in existing infrastructure, and I believe that long-term, I believe that we're going to see that we made a good choice right here. So I'm very happy that we're on schedule, and I believe that this is a good use of our existing infrastructure, and it's going to be a life well used for this police facility.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments by the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor.
The next matter on the agenda is a consideration of the appointment of Jeremiah Dumas to the Planning and Zoning. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to appoint Jeremiah Dumas to the Planning and Zoning Commission with a 6-year term set to start July 1st, 2017 and expire June 30th, 2023 as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
Just thank Mr. Dumas for his willingness to serve.
Any discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. It is now 7 o'clock. Without objection, I'm going to take us into a brief recess. Any objection? Seeing none, stand in a brief recess.
Oh, no question. No question.
Second.
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda, motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of Clearwater Consultants Incorporated work authorization 1702 for engineering services for the 2014 FAA AIP project environmental assessment as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of a contract for architectural services between the city and Mississippi State
Same
University. Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve a contract for architectural services between the city and Mississippi State University Carl Small Town Center to develop design standards for a uniform billboard base to be included in a new billboard ordinance as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the
Same
agenda.
move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of a request from Emerson Family Center for the placement of banners and blue ribbons for Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month during the April 2017 with condition as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Congratulations, Ms. Brooks, you have waited patiently. The next matter on the agenda is a request for
Same move.
motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize spending up to $10,000 a year, or $10,000 to
So
repair.
So moved.
I think I've already got a motion. To repair, replace, or modify existing inlets located on Yorkshire Drive with funds coming from the Street Improvement Fund as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda.
Same move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to accept the quote from Terry Seven Construction in the amount of $4,942.50 to complete the Plum Road Drainage Improvement Project with project funds to be paid from Ward 1 discretionary funds as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the
Same
agenda.
move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of the City of Starkville claims documents for all departments, including the Starkville Utilities Department as of February 28, 2017 for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2017 as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying, or by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor and 2 against, this motion passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for permission to accept an $8,030 donation from Fort County in order to purchase a fire safety inflatable house. Motion has been made by Alderman Rule to approve the acceptance of an $8,030 donation from Fort County in order to purchase a fire safety inflatable house for fire prevention events as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion?
Mayor,
Alderman-
Chief, what would this be used for? I appreciate you giving us the photos, and I just want to.
Good afternoon, Mayor Board, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
It'll be used for public safety events, taking to different schools, Southern, Overstreet, Ward Stewart, so places like that. Should be really good. We wanted the big ones, like 40-some thousand, couldn't afford that, so we done this, so.
We thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is
Same move.
motion has been made by Alderman Carver to allow Fire Marshal Steve McMullen and Mark McCurdy to attend the Mississippi Fire Investigators Association seminar March 29th to 31st, 2017 in Biloxi, Mississippi, with advanced travel not to exceed $675. Hotel registration and meals included as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
And Alderman Carver, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the
So
agenda,
moved.
motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the purchase of playground equipment from J.A. Dawson and Company in the amount of $10,133.12, with the city of Starkville to pay $9,133.12, and the Starkville Junior Auxiliary to pay $1,000 as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
Yes, sir. This is the follow-up from last week when we approved, or 2 weeks ago, when we approved the JA donation for those ADA swings. Mr. Peters is using the rest of this money to put for the installation of those swings, but also to enhance the safety around those swings as well, and we sincerely appreciate that as part of his ADA plan at the park. So thank you very much, sir.
Any further discussion? Alderman Wall.
Just wanted to clarify that those funds are coming out of the 2% money. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to advertise and fill the upcoming event. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the advertising to fill the upcoming vacant position of manager of accounting and finance in the Starkville Utilities Department as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion?
Yeah,
Alderman Paul.
Mr. Ashford, what will this salary be starting at on this one? Is it ranging from 50 to 67? Do you know the range this will start at?
Thank you. Thank you.
The position is a salary grade 15, and it starts at 55,000 up to 61.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Hold that, just stay right there, because I'm asking the same question on the next one.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization to advertise and fill the upcoming vacant position of accounting clerk. Discussion.
Same move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the advertisement to fill the upcoming vacant position of accounting clerk and start with the Utilities Department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Discussion. Alderman Paul.
Well, when does it start?
It's a salary grade 11.
What will this salary start at?
It's a salary grade of 11. It starts from 40,
34 to 45?
34 to 45.
So where we think we're gonna start at?
It bases on the person's qualification, so I can't answer that exactly without interviewing candidates.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to hire Katie Gent. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the hire of Katie Gent to fill a temporary part-time position as manager of accounting and finance in the Starkville Utilities Department as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the matter? No, sir. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request authorization to hire Jared Bailey. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the hire of Jared Bailey as the system engineer in the Starkville Utilities Department as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Mr. Mayor, I recognize. Mr. Alfred, where this salary here start at? It started as the annual salary, the grade 14 starting at 50. You know what his salary gonna start at?
Hold on. All right.
50,000.
Alderman Vaughn, before we go any further with the discussion, let me just clarify that the motion did pass.
It didn't pass?
It did pass. Unanimously is what I have recorded.
All right.
You may continue.
I just wanna know where the salary gonna start at. 50,000. Thank you.
Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to hire Sharing T. Goodwin.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the hire of Sharing T. Goodwin as an operator one in the Starkville Utilities Department under the Drinking Water Division as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion?
Mayor.
Alderman Walker.
I'd like to say that I'm pleased that we're beginning to hire people for these positions, especially in the water department, and that I believe that we've had a dearth, a lack of people in those positions as we're looking to move up, and I am just happy that we're going to be closer to being full staff with quality people in those departments that should improve the services to the citizens.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to hire Samuel.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the hire of Samuel Ryan Flippin as wastewater operator 3 in the Starkville Utilities Department under the wastewater division as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the marriage?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization to re-advertise to fill the vacant position of radio operator record clerk.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to authorize the re-advertisement.
Didn't we miss one?
I did. Let's get through this one. I'll go back to it. To authorize the re-advertisement to fill the vacant position of radio operator, records clerk, dispatcher in the Starkville Police Department as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to hire Ivan D. Hudson.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the hire of Ivan D. Hudson and Rashawn X. Randall as maintenance worker 1 in the landscape division of the Sanitation and Environmental Services Department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization.
Say move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the hire of Donnie Scales as an equipment operator 1 in the Starkville Street Department with a standard 1-year probationary period as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda.
Say move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the hire of Will McReynolds as a certified firefighter in the Starkville Fire Department and authorize the hire of Charles Bowen and Brandon Crane as entry-level firefighters in the Starkville Fire Department with standard 1-year probationary period and authorization to retain candidates from the selection process held February 16, 2017 for consideration to fill any additional vacant positions in the firefighter classification due to requirements, terminations, or approved additions to the fire department within a period of 90 days as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for approval to lease purchase 4 pickup trucks off of state contract from Bush Outfield Ford in an amount of $103,228. As Ms. Gandy is making her way forward, I'm going to speak to this matter a bit. And what I mainly want to speak to is just how important these pickup trucks are to the sanitation fleet. I understand how there could be a perception because they are regular pickup trucks, that these are vehicles just used to get from one job to the next. These are actually an integral part of the sanitation fleet. And Miss Gandy and I sit down periodically and we discuss the needs of the sanitation department. Often the conversation focuses on fleet. As you'll recall, in the past, we've done quite a bit of work with our commercial fleet, as that was a chronic maintenance issue, and we had an unreliable commercial fleet that was affecting our operations. We are at a point, we are frankly past a point with our pickup truck fleet where it is affecting our operation because we have a fleet that is unreliable. Now, they use these trucks to pick up quite a bit of garbage and rubbish. They are picking up all of the commercial spots that either are so irregular they cannot have a container service, or their needs are not large enough to demand a container service. And they are also doing all of our ADA pickup in these trucks, as well as periodic rubbish removal as well to complete the job there. A good way to describe the role that these trucks have in the sanitation fleet is they are the vehicles that can go anywhere, and they make sure everything that doesn't get picked up on a standard truck gets picked up so that the streets are clean. They are indispensable. They run all the time, and when they are not running, as the older vehicles that we have in the fleet that we're trying to replace frequently are not running, it cramps the operation of the department. So while I recognize this is a major acquisition, it is within our budget. The lease, this will be a lease purchase arrangement, and it will cost us probably in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 a year on the lease purchase. But it is an asset that will be well utilized, and frankly, needed to be replaced a long time ago. So I urge you as strongly as I can urge you to do something to approve this request. So moved. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the lease purchase of 4 pickup trucks off the state contract from Bush Outfield Ford in the amount of $103,228 to be used by the sanitation and landscape divisions, and authorization to obtain the lowest quote for financing of said vehicles as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
I would add for a term of 4 years on that.
For a term of 4 years. Now, that number may go a little higher if we go for 4 years.
Okay, yeah.
So the 20 to 25, I was thinking of 6 or 7 years. It's still within budget if you go at 4 years, but Lisa Harden helped me out. Ballpark, that looked more like 30 to 35 a year.
It does.
Yeah.
There's currently almost 50 that we budgeted.
Okay. All right, motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve to lease purchase 4 pickup trucks off state contract from Bush Outfield Ford in the amount of $103,228 to be used by the sanitation and landscape divisions, and authorization to obtain the lowest quote for financing of said vehicles for a period not to exceed 4 years, otherwise as presented. Alderman
Say
Maynard.
not to exceed 5, and Ms. Harden's gonna get quotes for 4 and 5.
Okay, for a period not to exceed 5 years, otherwise as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion?
Mr.
Alderman Little.
I was just gonna ask, what are the age, how many do we have, 4 now that you're using, is that right? Are we replacing?
Well, last year we did buy 2 new trucks for landscaping. We sourced out or we declared for surplus. We replaced 2, and since then, one of those have gone out. So what we have in landscaping now, we have the 2 new trucks. We have an older truck model, 1998, that we've been having some problems with. And we have a truck that I think was part of the scrap that we kind of went back and refurbished. And it's the 95 that we're using. That 98, 99 truck and the 95 model are the ones that we had problems with last year during the cutting season, because remember, these trucks are pulling lawnmower and they're carrying equipment. So we did have some problems with them last year, and so just trying to get them replaced. The other 2 trucks so there will be 2 trucks that I'm asking for is for landscaping side. The 2 trucks that I'm also asking for the sanitation side is like the mayor said. Currently, we're only using 1 truck for our city route and our disabled or ADA route. With the use of additional trucks, that will help us not only on downtown, because that's what those trucks do, downtown and some of the other small businesses around town, where they go and they load those and bring them back to the office and dump in one of our other garbage trucks. But it'll also help on our litter control side, because when they finish those routes, then they go out for litter control, as well as when the garbage trucks come back in, the crews get off the garbage truck, get in a pickup truck, and then they go out for litter control. Right now, when they come in, we're limited because we only have 3 trucks on the sanitation side, and one of them is a truck that Mr. Ware drives. So normally he has to give up his truck for the crew to go out, and we typically, most of the time, at that point, get in his pickup truck, his personal pickup truck. But this will help me to run the department more efficiently if the board approves.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Webb.
Okay, thank you so much. Mrs. Gandy, of course, I'm going to support this measure tonight. I represent Highland Estates, Deerfield, Bluefield, Greta Lane, Long Meadow, as well as many other apartment communities in my ward. And so often I call on you and your personnel, go out and pick up that litter that has blown from everywhere for me. I appreciate it. And in order for them to do that, they've got to have adequate transportation to be able to do that. And I call on you so much. And I want to say this tonight while you're here. Last week, I called on you regarding a constituent in Highland Estates. She texted me the most beautiful text message about you and your personnel and about myself this morning. I thank you. If they had not had the transportation to go out there, then that couldn't have been done. So thank you so much for all that you do for my ward. I yield the floor.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Gandy, I don't think you answered the question from the gentleman from 3. He asked you how many trucks do you have for landscape right now?
For landscape right now, I have 4 trucks.
Okay, you have 4 trucks, and 2 of those are the big cab trucks.
The last 2 that we purchased.
And before the board approved these hires tonight, you had 6 employees in landscape.
Yes.
And now you have 8 employees.
Yes.
So if the board approves these 4 trucks, you'll have 8 trucks, right?
No, sir. Yet I will have 6 trucks. Right now I only have 4 trucks. I'm only asking for 2 of these trucks that's before the board to go to landscaping.
Okay,
I'm not asking for all 4 trucks to go to landscaping.
but you have 6 trucks.
I will have 6 trucks.
And you're indicated that the 1998 truck is aging.
Yes, sir, it is.
I mean,
Both the 98 and the 95. The 95 truck is a truck that was declared surplus for another department that we took and pieced together so that we would have something when the board declared those 4 trucks a year or so ago surplus property, because we didn't have anything. So we did piece that truck together. The 98 truck was the last truck purchased, I believe, when the department was called Public Works and everything was included. All of water, sanitation, and everything was Public Works. It was purchased back in 98, 99, I believe.
Ms. Gann, let me say this. I'm going to be very to the point, and I just have to do my job, and I don't get in a hurry to do my job. If it requires me to stay here until daybreak, I'm going to stay here. Now, the problem I have, let me say this first. Certainly, your staff does a good job. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I mean, they do a good job. But the problem that I have, and just straight talk here, is that we are being asked to spend $104,000 on these trucks, and we got a closed landfill. There's a closed sign out there at the landfill. That's my problem. And just because we have a 1998 truck, don't mean we have to get another truck. I mean, we just have to conserve our resources. I drive a 1995 vehicle. I mean, that don't mean I got to go and get a new one. We have to make the best use of it. We have to treat the taxpayers' monies just like we would treat our own money. That's what's wrong with government now. That's why we just tax and spend. That's why we just keep increasing the taxes so high. We got to learn to utilize the resources that we have for the betterment of the taxpayers. Now, you know, we're talking about a 1998, 1995. We need to have accountability for these trucks. We have a missing truck that was reported missing early in this term, and we don't even know where that truck is right now. Here we are about to got a motion in a second to buy 4 more trucks. This is ridiculous. Got a landfill closed, and we're asked to buy 4 trucks. This is just not the right way to do business. And I'm not trying to be critical, just straight talk here. This is what the taxpayers would ask. You know, these are the questions they're asking. So since they elected me to do this job, I don't mind doing my job. This is no disrespect to you, Ms. Gandy, but just to come up here and boldly ask us to spend $104,000 on 4 trucks with a big close sign that says CLOSED at the landfill is not right. Now, just because a truck is old, that don't mean we got to put it out. Now, we're going to have at least 8 employees, and we're going to have about 4 or 5 trucks there about for landscape. You know, I mean, everybody do not have to have a truck to ride around in. We got to learn to share resources. We got to learn to share resources to get the job in. That's why it costs us so much to operate government. You know, and I probably wouldn't have no problem supporting this request tonight. I don't mind the staff having the vehicles and equipment that we need to get the job done. But again, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, as I get ready to come to a close, but when we have a landfill that's shut down and we're going to be asked to spend $104,000, that's the request I want to hear tonight on the agenda. That's the request I want to hear, and this has nothing to do with the employees there. The employees and public and the sanitation environmental services do a good job. This is not critical of them. This is all about public policy here. You know, if we are going to be asked this, we should have had another agenda item that we need a certain dollar amount to whatever we need to do to get this landfill going. And this is my sole concern about this request tonight. And the last few words I want to make tonight are as follows. I hope that we can get us a agenda item coming from Sanitation Environmental Services asking for some dollar amount or something, whatever we need to do to open this landfill. We have the street department, the engineering department, all these other departments have to drive and spend their daily hours every day trying to go to the landfill out in Clay County to take debris. I mean, these departments, the engineering, Mr. Larry Black and all the others are getting requests to go out at these various locations, these different sites. Yeah, the vice mayor knows what's going on to do these various things, and we got the Parks and Recreation trying to take debris and all these things, and we got to go out to Clay County. We got a landfill here, and again, Mr. Reporter, we're asking to spend $104,000. That's ridiculous. Yield the floor. I'm going to vote against this, Mayor.
Alderman Walker.
Ms. Gandy, I think I agree with the Vice Mayor in the sense that we have to find a way to get the landfill open as we're ending the academic year and we are about to be in spring cleaning seasons where people are looking. I would also like to ask that, and Mayor, maybe you can do this just through directing. I think there's an opportunity for the Parks Department, Sanitation, Landscape Division, and maybe Starkville Utilities to look at an opportunity for the debris that we do pick up to find a way to turn that into mulch that the city can use. Right now, if we want to mulch anything at the parks, we have to buy it. as much debris as put on the side of the road, I believe there's an opportunity for us to save some costs long-term by looking at how we maximize what is currently a waste resource that goes to the landfill. That could be something that could be actually used. So I think there's some opportunity to look at that. My real question that I have for you is, I just want to get my numbers right. So we're going to have now 8 employees in the landscape division, and you're going to have 4 trucks for the landscape division. What is the size of your typical crew that works on in the landscape division?
Normally, it's 2 people per truck.
2 people per truck. So you have one person driving, then one person unloads the mower, and so you have 2 people, 2-man crew per truck. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
All right. Thank you very much. The final question, just to clarify, is that we're talking about, and I believe the motion says that it is $104,000 or so, but that's going to be spread out over a 4-year period. Is that correct?
4 to 5.
4 to 5 year period, depending on what the numbers come out. So from the budget standpoint, we're looking at somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 a year to have 4 new trucks that are hopefully going to serve the city like these other trucks for hopefully the next 20 years. Is that what the plan is? Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Just to fill the board in, I did receive an email this week from Neil Schaefer, and we are still awaiting the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality's okay to open up the next cell of the landfill. Everything's in and sitting on their desk, and we're just waiting on them to process our permit. So that's where we are there.
Further discussion?
But I do agree we need to get the landfill open. Agree with the vice mayor.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none. All those in favor of Alderman, was it Carver? Whose motion? Alderman Maynard's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor with 2 against, motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to use Mid-South Fisher and Arnold. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the use of Mid-South Fisher and Arnold planning team to conduct a one-ownership study for the proposed Southwest substation as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes.
Motion to go into closed session.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to go into closed session to determine whether there is a need for an executive session. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion? Yes, sir. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. I'll ask the public to vacate the premises so the board can begin closed session deliberations to determine whether there is a need for an executive session.